All right, everybody, welcome today to this month's workshop for Get Clients University. Super excited about this one. This is called the Money Brand Masterclass. And my intention for this masterclass is to teach you I was given a piece of advice from one of my mentors, Dan Kennedy, a while back. He said that the problem most entrepreneurs have is that they try so hard at marketing and selling rather than taking the time to create the thing that makes selling easy. And the truth is, when somebody likes and trusts you, they just buy, right? Like, you don't need to do very much convincing. You don't need to do very much in order to get them to buy because they like and trust your brand. But there's a big difference between a money brand and a personal brand, okay? And are there any personal branding or branding experts on the call today? Because if there are, you guys are going to really hate me because I think that most branding experts are completely full of crap. And that's why they're broke and they don't make any money, because branding experts, they think that branding is about what color shirt you wear and if it matches with your Instagram and your website. They think that branding is about how you present yourself. And it's not. It's about what people say about you. That is what branding is about. Let me give you a couple of examples. I'll give you 3 specific examples, okay? So take a look at, does anybody know who Iman Gadzhi is? Does anybody know who that is? Okay? This dude sells the same thing that everybody else has sold a million times, a friggin' SMMA course, okay? Like, how many friggin' social media marketing courses can we have? The dude has no funnel. He just has one order page, no scarcity, no urgency, and no high ticket. It's $1,500. He does 20 million a year. Why? Because he focuses everything he does on branding. In fact, most of his videos on his YouTube don't even talk about what he sells. It's just like how to be a high value man and all this blah, 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 right? Take a look at Andrew Tate. Whether you want to high five him or throw a pie in his face, doesn't matter. Point is, the dude rarely talks about his $47 a month membership, but he does like 40 million a year, or it might be more. It might be 40 million a month. I don't friggin' know. It's a lot. Okay. And all he does is have mental chess battles with OnlyFans models, right? But it's on brand. You have to literally go and search for what Andrew Tate sells to buy his stuff. He has no funnel. You just go buy it. Okay. Does this make sense? Okay. Take a look again. Here, friggin' Alex Hormozi. Same thing. Have you ever seen the logo or the website for acquisition.com? It looks like crap. And he admits that. He's like, I don't care, right? Because, guys, brand is not about what it looks like. It's about what people say about you. It's about how you make people feel. It's about how you connect with people. All of my funnels, I know my funnels look kind of fancy now, but most of my funnels, the first 4 or 5 years in business, they looked horrible. Like, has anybody ever bought anything from me years ago? My funnels looked like trash. They look like trash, okay? It doesn't matter. Because that's not what it's about. It's just not what it's about, all right? So what I'm going to explain to you today, and before I do, I want you to think about something real quick, about how important this is, all right? See, right now, if you live in America especially, all right, if you're from the U.S., let me know in the chat if you're from in the U.S. If you're from America especially, okay, you have to realize that we live... There's a game that is being played, okay? People have created this game. It's a machine. It's a system, or some people would call it the Matrix, whatever you want to call it. But I want you to think about this for a second. We live in a system where here's you, right? Here's you. You're supposed to pay taxes that go to the government, right? So this is like my crappy little government building. You're supposed to pay taxes that go to the government, right? And those taxes are supposed to take care of the people's needs. They're supposed to take care of the essentials that we need, right? That's how it's supposed to work. But the problem is that is not how it works. How it works is you give money to the government. The government, let's just take health insurance, for example. I saw this example today from The Daily Show, that guy, John, whatever, that dude. I clearly don't watch enough TV. You give money to the government that takes that money and gives it to an insurance company, okay? Gives it to an insurance company. The insurance company then keeps most of it. The insurance company makes you pay more money to them so that they can give you a little bit of money for your health care. Like, think about that. You pay taxes to the government. The government gives an insurance company most of that money. The insurance company then gives you a little bit of money and then charges you money. Like, okay, the point is the system, the game is rigged. It's set up to make you fail. And if you don't know the rules of the game, you can't win the game. But if you do know the rules of the game, you can win. And when you figure this out, the whole world opens up to you. And that's what I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to teach you the rules of creating a money brand. A personal brand gets people to follow you. A money brand gets people to follow you and buy from you. And in fact, you don't even need a big, one of my clients and good friends, Laura Porty, she has 5,000 followers on Instagram. I mean, you would think that her influence is the size of an amoeba on a plant-based diet, okay? Small. But she did 1.1 million last year because she has a money brand, okay? She has a money brand, all right? So I did change the name of this masterclass because I came up with a better one before we started, okay? So here's the point. When you create a money brand, you can literally, like, I want you to think about this before we get started. Gary Vee took years to build his personal brand. That's why he talks about just throwing content out there every day, working 29 hours a day, injecting yourself with liquid caffeine, and just go, go, go. But then you notice people like, when I was coming up, I noticed people like Mike Dillard, Amy Porterfield, Marie Forleo, Lewis Howes. These dudes blew up, or these people blew up very, very quickly. Look at Alex Hormozy, blew up very quickly. I mean, comparatively to somebody like Gary Vee. And it's because, and I know Alex, I've known Alex for years. I know Laurel. I know Russell. I know a lot of these guys. Guess what? All of us studied this stuff from the same people. And those people are very old, and they have a lot of hair on areas that I don't want to mention. They're very old. This stuff is old, okay? And it just so happens that most people ignore it. So what I'm going to do today, and I could like literally go on about this whole thing on a 2, 3, 4 day seminar. But what I'm going to do today is in 90 minutes, I'm going to condense this and make it as simple as possible for you so that you can actually do something with it rather than just get an MBA in, okay? Are you feeling me so far? Let me know in the chat if you're feeling me so far. I almost just flipped this when there's nothing to flip, okay? All right, so here are the 3 basic elements of a money brand, okay? And this is not the brand itself, but this is the guide for what the brand is, okay? 3 basic elements: what you are for, what you are against, and what your weaknesses and flaws are. What you're for, what you're against, and what your flaws are. When you have these 3 things, this is the foundation of a brand. Now, I'll give you an example. I was speaking to Dan Kennedy, and I remember him explaining what the most enduring and most profitable brands of all time are. And believe it or not, the second most enduring and profitable brand is talk show hosts, Okay. And the first, can anybody guess what the most enduring, most profitable brands of all time are? Can anybody guess? Coca-Cola, no. Jerry Springer, no. Coke, no. Disney, Harley Davidson, no. Nope, nope. Not movies, nope. Well, kind of. Oprah, medicine, no. Ah, Zuba got it. Superheroes. Superheroes. Think about it. They can rotate comics, actors, different movies, and people just keep buying. It doesn't matter who the actor is, doesn't matter what the movie is, doesn't matter what the plot is, what the new toy is. Your kids, they love superheroes. When you were a kid, they loved superheroes. When your parents were a kid, they loved superheroes. They profit off of those brands over and over and over and over and over again. Why? Because comic book writers know what a brand is and they zero in on it. And every single superhero has something they stand for, something they stand against, and a weakness or a flaw. Think about it, okay? So let's take a look. Superman, all right? Superman stands for truth, justice, and the American way. He stands against tyranny, injustice, and evil. Now, here's an interesting thing. Did you know that when Superman first came out, nobody liked him? In fact, everyone hated him. DC Comics almost cut him. Do you know why? He still stood for truth, justice, and the American way. He still stood against tyranny, injustice, and evil. But do you know why they cut him? It's because he was invincible. He had no weaknesses, and therefore he was unrelatable. Then at the last minute, comic book writers came up with the idea of a rock that would weaken him and take his powers away. Kryptonite. And as soon as they added kryptonite, the world loved him. The world loved him, and he became the most popular superhero ever. Billions upon billions upon billions of dollars in revenue, all because they added the weakness of kryptonite. And I bet you didn't know this. Magic. Okay. He also has flaws, like he struggles with his alien identity. Now think about this. Why did that work? It's because Superman represents the best of us. He's strong. He's invincible. He stands for what's good. He stands against what's bad. We would all like to think of ourselves as that person, as the person who stands for good and against evil, who stands for, like, that's the perfect embodiment of a good person. But because he has kryptonite, we relate to it because no matter how good you are, no matter how much you've achieved, everyone has that thing that can take them down. Everyone has that flaw, that weakness. For some, it's food, gambling, alcohol, drugs, women, men, whatever, okay? It is something that, self-confidence, shiny objects, and there's something that can take them down. And when the world saw somebody who stood for everything good and against everything bad, but had a weakness that could take him down, there was an ultimate relatability there because we could see ourselves in him. And we were reminded, no matter how amazing we are or our friends are, the people we look up to, everyone has a flaw. Okay? And that is incredibly important. And yes, it means you have to show your flaws. In the chat, let me know here, who here thinks that they have an authentic brand that you guys market authentically? Who thinks you're authentic with your art? Say me if you are. Okay? Say me if you are. So I see me, 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 me. Okay? Now, I see a lot of me's. Now, for those of you that said me, I want you to answer this question honestly. Think of like your deepest, darkest demon. Think of the thing that is like your biggest friggin', your biggest kryptonite. You're like, maybe it's like one of the worst things you've ever done. Have you shared that with your audience? Have you talked about that? Have you put that in your marketing? Yes or no? No. Yes or no? Be honest. no, no, no. Then you're not authentic. Sorry, you're not authentic. You're not authentic. Bullshit. Okay? You can't sit here and tell me you have an authentic brand and you are authentic with your audience, but you can't admit your flaws. You talk about the best of you, but you can't talk about the worst of you. That is not authenticity. That is the opposite of authenticity. Okay? If you start talking about your flaws and your weaknesses, you will relate to your audience so much more. Because when somebody, what you stand for allows you and your audience to rally around a common goal. What you stand against allows you to bond, because the easiest way to bond is to have a common enemy. Have you ever heard the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Or what was it? What is it? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Okay. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. You've heard that, right? It's a psychological principle. If you don't like something that I don't like, the chances of us bonding together over it are like 100 times us talking about friggin' Scrabble. Okay. So, and finally, common goal. So look, this allows you to rally around a common goal. This is the fastest way to bond around common enemy. Okay? And this makes you human. This is how you relate. When you combine these things, oh, we stand for the same thing. Oh, we're bonding because we hate the same thing. Oh, they're human. They're not perfect. They're like me. And that's the thing. This shows that you are like them. The flaw shows you are like them, because if you look at somebody and think they're too amazing, well, then they're not like me. Therefore, whatever results they got, I'm not going to get, because we're not the same. Oh, but if we're the same, whatever results they got, then I could get, because we're the same. This is basic human psychology. You guys get it? Like, if we're different, your results can't possibly be my results. If we're the same, your results can be my results. Therefore, when you talk about your results and what you can do for me, I believe you, and I will give you money, and I will buy from you to solve my problem so I can get some results. Like, this is basic stuff here. Okay. Does everybody understand so far? Okay. Everybody understand so far? Yes. If you fix the flaw, sure. But Julie, you're going to have more flaws, and you should be talking about the flaw and how you fix it. I mean, I fixed a lot of flaws, but I still talk about them, and I still have more flaws. I have tons of flaws, and I try to talk about them as much as possible. I have to tell my copywriter, hey, you didn't talk shit about me in that email enough. Put more. Okay. How often should you talk about them? Almost every time. Okay. So Superman stands for truth, justice, and the American way. Stand against tyranny, injustice, and evil. Weaknesses: kryptonite and magic. Struggle with his alien identity. Batman stands for justice, human ingenuity, and resilience. Stands against crime, corruption, and injustice. Weaknesses: lack of superhuman abilities, psychological trauma, obsession with his mission to the point of self-destruction. Spider-Man stands for responsibility, youth, self-discovery. Stand against crime, selfishness, and moral corruption. Weaknesses: guilt. Guilt is a huge weakness of his, especially the death of Uncle Ben. It's juggling personal life with superhero life, and he's very impulsive. Very impulsive. Okay? Let's move on. Wonder Woman. Now, this one's interesting. Okay? She stands for feminism, justice, and equality. She stands against injustice, war, and discrimination. Now, here's something very interesting. Her weaknesses from the comics was if her bracelets are bound together by a man, she loses her powers. Now, and another thing is she's overly protective. Now, here's the thing. Because everything is liberal nowadays, they decided to take this away. They decided to take this weakness away because it sounds, anti-feminism or whatever. Well, when they did that, her popularity decreased. The latest Wonder Woman movie flopped. Like, think about this. This is a formula you can't break. Okay? Like, think about it. I don't care if it's feminist, not feminist, whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay? Because in 100 years, in 300 years, we might not even have the concept of feminism or not, whatever. It's whatever. The point is that it doesn't matter. You got to have a weakness. Okay? You might not agree with the weakness, maybe come up with a different one, but you got to have a weakness. Period. You got to have a weakness. Okay? And if you think about it, I think this is a great weakness, because how many women feel like they're put down by a man? If anything, that's perfect. Like, I don't know. Okay? So, Iron Man stands for innovation, capitalism, and personal growth, stands against terrorism, ignorance, and threats to freedom. Weakness, dependence on his arc reactor and armor, egotistic, struggles with substance abuse. Captain America stands for patriotism, leadership, and moral integrity, stands against tyranny, corruption, and the abuse of power. Weaknesses, aging, because he does age, and emotional vulnerability due to his time displacement, overly idealistic, and has a black and white view of morality. Okay? So, by the way, these are the top 10 superheroes, okay? Anyway, Black Panther, legacy, unity, and cultural pride, exploitation, colonization, and division. I mean, you can just go down the list, right? Flash, he's very impulsive, super impulsive. That's why he broke the friggin' Speed Force and caused the multiverse and all this bad stuff, because he was impulsive. So all of this is there. Now, if you go and good old Green Lantern, he's allergic to the color yellow. Green Lantern. Anyway, the point is that there's a trick that I learned, and that is this. If you go and you just look at the top 10 superheroes, okay, you will find that one of them, you will resonate with one of them like pretty closely. It may not be exact, but you'll resonate pretty friggin' closely. So if you just take the top 10 superheroes, you pick one, and then you just tweak it a little bit, now you are basing your brand off of a proven formula rather than inventing failure. So you just borrow the brand. You just take the brand that is already proven to work. You pick the one that, let me ask you guys, you guys have read some of this. Can some of you relate to this? Can some of you relate to these characters? Like, that's the whole point. That's why they're so popular, because they literally make this stuff so you can relate. Yes? Okay. So just look at the top 10 superheroes, pick the one that is the closest to you, do a little tweak to make it accurate, and there's the basis of your brand. That's where you stand for, that's what you stand against, and there's your weakness. Friggin' done. Okay? But I'm going to go deeper. Now, if you have, well, obviously you're in GCU, so if you go and you look at the leaderboard, you'll notice that if you achieve level 2, and level 2 is where you engage and you're an active member of the group, you hit level 2, level 3, level 4. We have a new content that you can unlock to make this process even easier for you. What I've done is I've created a little program called the 30-minute personal brand. You go in and it's a sheet that has a bunch of AI prompts. You use the AI prompts along with some of the stuff I'm going to teach you today, and you can use AI to create your whole brand guide in like 30 minutes. And if anybody has already done it, let me know in the chat how that process was. Julie has, okay? And what you do is when you have this brand guide, you can literally, Laura has, yes, it's okay, awesome. You can look at it and you know what to talk about. You know what content to make, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? And the idea here is that when you put out content, when you put out marketing, you could literally load that brand guide into AI and check what you do against it and make sure it's on brand. Because think about this. If you have something persuasive, but it's off brand, is it going to work? See, that's the problem, right? Most people think that it has to be just persuasive. But let me ask you this. Let's say that you were the best debater in the world, right? Or the best debater in the world wrote something for you. And let's say your audience was like diehard carnivores, meat eaters, right? And they loved, like, they hated vegans. They just loved eating meat, hairy chests, all that. And then one day you come out and you say, here's why you should eat a plant-based diet. And they give the greatest pitch of all time. Would it work? Like, would it work? Like, think about that. Like, if I had the greatest pitch of all time if it would work, then everybody would vote for the same person every 4 years. Okay? But no matter how good the pitch is, half the country usually votes red and half the country usually votes blue. Because the people that are running for president, they all say the same stuff, but they're on brand. It's more who's on brand. Why do you think you'll see these politicians like kind of change things up to appeal to their base? Doesn't matter how persuasive it is if it's off brand. It's got to be on brand. But it can't be on brand if you don't know what your brand is. So you're just spinning your head. All right? Yeah, see the email, Angela, exactly. Joe Biden went off brand. All right? He literally was like, all right, let's build a wall. Well, we have a lot of immigrants coming to the US. This isn't working. This is bad. Like, it's causing all these problems. Let's build a wall. Let's finish building the wall. Something he said he would never do. And now all the people on his side of the pond are like, right? And like the Trump people are like, right? And so the thing is, if you look 2 weeks after he announced that, his numbers tanked. His polling numbers tanked. Not because it's a bad idea to build a wall or it's a good idea to build a wall. Because it's off brand. You get it? Like, in this particular situation with what's happening, most would argue that it is a good idea to finish the wall because there is actually a really bad thing happening. But it doesn't matter, right, wrong, or indifferent. It was off brand. So his people were like, okay, is this making sense? Are you, as Myron would say, you picking up what I'm putting down? Are you feeling me? Yes? Yes? Have you ever created marketing that you thought should work, but for some reason it didn't? If so, you might be off brand. Okay? Or you didn't create a brand from the beginning. All right, let's keep going. So I wanted to point out, get to level 2, and you'll be able to do most of this in just 30 minutes using AI. But this right here, this is the educational class, okay? All right, so let's, all right. So here are the basics. Now, once you have those 3 things, and you understand the basics of your brand, like the 3 core elements, what you stand for, what you stand against, and what your flaws are, now you can create the 10 components to a money brand, okay? Because you have and let me see if I can, just before we get into this, I want to illustrate this so you really, truly understand it, okay? So you have your for, you have your against, and you have your flaws, right? And now this creates this sort of like triangle, this triad that then points to 10 elements. Okay? And these 10 elements are the things that are the building blocks of your brand. And some of them you won't have right now. Okay? You can start with the basics and you'll have to build them over time because some of them, like, you kind of have to do some stuff to get them. But these, once you decide on the 3 basics of what you stand for, what you stand against, and your flaws, now you have direction. You have clarity on what your 10 elements should be. And I'll share with you the 10 elements, okay? And I learned these from old school direct response guys like Dan Kennedy. In fact, I got so good at this that I was asked to host a 3-day event called the Write Like Dan Challenge, where I taught some of this stuff to Dan Kennedy's audience for his company. Okay. And then when I met him, he had no friggin' idea that I did it, didn't know who I was, which is hilarious because he's old now. He's just chilling. But we sold $123,000 of a $2,000 book. Okay. And I did it by doing the things that I'm teaching you. So, okay. So here are the basics. The basics of every brand are this, that you have the three basics, right? There actually might be 9 elements, not 10. I'll have to, sometimes I'm bad with math. Okay. So number 1 is the characters. That's generally the leader, the guru, the front man. Okay. I know some of you don't like that word guru. It's not meant to call you guru. It's just, you're an expert. So expert, guru, whatever, right? And that's usually you and the people you interact with, like your customers or stories about people you interacted with or you told. Like I just told a story about, Dan Kennedy, or I told a story about my wife or whatever. So those are some of the characters, but the main character is you. All right. The backstory is basically your origin story. It explains where you are, why you are who you are, and how you got here. Where you are, why you are who you are, and how you got here. 3 very important things. Parables are stories that communicate the ideas and values your audience needs to embrace before buying from you, or just to embrace you at all. Okay. So these are the 3 basics. Everybody can have these right now because you already have this because you're here. So that's done, right? The backstory is just explaining like, okay, you're here. So where is here? Who are you? And how'd you get here? Right? Did you lose 50 pounds? Okay. So you lost 50 pounds and you're here because you used to be overweight. And how you got here was you discovered intermittent fasting because your brother was a POW and you lost 50 pounds by not being able to eat. I don't know. Could be anything, right? Or you got stuck somewhere or you learned from this seminar you went to or whatever. Okay. And the point is like something happened. They got you from point A to point B, made you who you are, right? And how you got here, right? And so that's the thing is, I remember watching a special with the guy that played Thor. And he was talking about how he went and traveled around to like all these countries, right? And he found that the people that lived the longest, they would not eat for days at a time, okay? And this, that, and the other thing, right? So like, let's say you had a friend who got stuck in a country, or like the POW thing. Like, let's just say, I mean, that's like a really weird example, but let's just say that, oh my gosh, like he thought that his health would go down, but because he ate less food or he only got to eat so many times, when he got back, they found that he was actually in better health or something. I don't know if that would actually happen. Probably wouldn't, but off the top of my head. Point is, something happened that got you from point A to point B, or inspired you to get from point A to point B, who made you who you are, why you care about things, and the how is how you got here. Does that make sense for the backstory? Are you getting this for the backstory with my terrible analogies that I probably could come up with something better for? Yes. Okay. Parables. And now parables are the stories that communicate your values, your ideas. Okay. So, and I'm going to give you examples of this. So next is the intermediate level. The intermediate level is, first thing is legend. This represents what you are famously known for. And essentially, when you do all 9 or 10, how many ever there are these elements, when you do them correctly, the legend happens. Okay. And so this is kind of something that you don't have to do. It's a result of doing everything else. Miracles. Miracles are the extraordinary achievement that you and those you have helped accomplish. They're the accomplishments, the miracles. Okay. Enemies. These are a shared adversary that both you and your customers oppose, helping forge a sense of unity and purpose. So that, again, what you stand against is going to kind of like direct who you choose your enemies to be. All right. The advanced level, dogma. These are the core principles that guide your brand. Adhering to your dogma can attract the people who share your values, making them more loyal to your brand. And they're also principles that they need to believe in order to buy your stuff. So think about this. I sold a 12-week boot camp called the High Ticket Selling Boot Camp. All right. And the High Ticket Selling Boot Camp was it was either 20 or 25 grand. It was high ticket. And the idea was that during this 12-week event, we did like a call a week. I would teach you how to sell your products and services for a higher price, how to sell on the phone, how to structure your offers, yada, 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 yada. But see, in order for you to give me $20,000 to do that, you have to believe that you're worth more. You have to believe that you can even charge more. You have to have that belief. So the way I sold it was I did this challenge called the Raise Your Prices Challenge. And the Raise Your Prices Challenge was all about showing them principles on how and why they're worth more. And when I could convince them that they were worth more and that they could charge more, then it made sense to buy the thing. So for instance, I'll give you an example. One of the parables that I told, and parables can be stories about you, stories about others. They can be fables. Like, I'll give you an example. One of them was this, okay? So I said, and I would write this on the board. I said, I want you to imagine, and some of you, you probably know, you probably heard me do this before, but so let's say you have 10 of your ideal clients walking on a beach. They come across a genie lamp, and out of the genie lamp pops a genie. Okay? And the genie is a capitalist. He's only going to give one wish to one person. That's it. One wish to one person. And he's going to make these people bid on that wish. Bid on the wish. So the wish is to solve the problem that your product solves. How high, if there was 10 people here that were your ideal clients, they all had the problem that you needed to solve, how high would the bid get? And then what I would do is I would tell people to talk about it in the chat, write it down. And so people would be like, oh, 50K, oh, 100K, oh, 1 million. They would, and then I would say, okay, now tell me how much you charge. Oh, I charge $500. Oh, I charge 2K. Oh, I charge 3K. And I go, so you know that your customers, if they were certain, they'd pay up to 50, you charge 500. They pay up to 100, you charge 2K. They pay up to 1 million, you charge 3K. And the principle here is, see, I said, what did I say? I said, the principle here is, if you don't know what you're worth, how do you expect your customers to know what you're worth? And everybody goes, wow, mind blown, right? Well, you have to believe that principle, or you're not giving me 20 grand to teach you how to sell high ticket on the phone or craft a high ticket offer, because you won't even believe that you can charge that much. So the whole challenge became about getting you to believe it's possible. And it is possible. Once you believe that, now it has moved that boulder out of the way for you to go, okay, well, now I want to do it. Now I want to learn how. And now they buy. Does that make sense? So that's an example. That's an example of like a principle. Okay. Does that make sense? And the parable is told to illustrate the principle. Okay. Insider's language. This is specialized terminology that only your community of customers understands, fostering a sense of belonging. Okay? Fostering a sense of belonging. And I'm going to give you examples of this in a minute. Testimony. These are the real life stories or endorsements from people who have benefited from your brand, providing social proof and credibility. This is another thing that kind of happens when you do everything right and you have a good product. So now let's give you some examples of this in action. So here's the thing. You think that brands are built by accident. They're not. They're by design. And I'm going to prove it to you. No, you are going to prove it. Are you all ready to play a little game? You want to play a little game? Game time? Yes? Yes? Okay, here we go. Let's play Name the Brand. Character, the CEO and the user community. Backstory, started in a garage, positioned as a disruptor in the tech industry. Parables, a 1984 commercial. Legend, the aura around product launches and the reality distortion field. Miracle, stories of how this new technology changed life. Enemies, traditional computing. Dogma, belief in simplicity, user-friendly design, and innovation. Insider's language, terms like retina display, airdrop, or even anything. Testimony, countless customer reviews and celebrity endorsements. Who is it? Did somebody just say Microsoft? You're kidding me, right? Come on. Yes, Steve Jobs. The other 50 people said Apple or Steve Jobs. It's not Microsoft, bro. Killing me. Steve Jobs. Now, how did you know that? Why did you know that? Why did anybody tell me why you knew that? Why? No, it's because Steve Jobs wanted you to know that. Because he wanted you to know that. Because his brand was designed. There's 1,000 other things they could have picked to fill up this, but they chose this. The vision in the brand was clear, okay? He painted the brand. Exactly, Joe. He painted the brand. Now that is the story, but there's a million other things that happened in life. There's stuff I haven't told you guys that happened in my life. Why? It's not on brand, okay? Like, did you know that I have literally, did you know that I might have said this a couple times, but did you know that I have to take pills to eat food because my pancreas doesn't excrete friggin' enzymes? I mean, actually, I could probably talk about that because I am kind of against like Western medicine. But the point is, like, you're not gonna pick everything. Think about this. Your life is like a kitchen. When you go to make a meal, do you put every ingredient in the kitchen into a bowl? No, you don't. Why? Because it would taste like crap. You pick the ingredients you need to make the meal you want to make, and the meal tastes great. A lot has happened in your life. You pick the elements you need to make the brand great. Okay? All right. Name the brand. The writers, the rebels, and the community. Backstory, rooted in American freedom and individuality. Parables, stories of the open road and the freedom it provides. Legend, the rebellious spirit, the sound of the engine. Miracles, transformative journeys, and the freedom experienced by writers. Enemies, conformity, and the mundane. Dogma, the ethos of freedom and individuality. Insiders, language, term like hog. Testimony, stories from devoted writers. Harley Davidson. Ding, 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 ding. Let's do it again. Why do you know that? Because they wanted you to know that. Name the brand. Characters, high-profile athletes, everyday sports person. Backstory, from selling shoes out of a car to becoming a global sports brand. Parables, stories of athletes overcoming adversity. Legend, the swoosh, the signature athletes. Miracles, everyday people achieving their personal best using the gear. Enemies, limitations, whether they're societal or self-imposed. Dogma, just do it. The empowerment and enablement of the athletic ability. Insiders language, phrases like Air Max, Flynet, etc. Testimony, athlete endorsements, and consumer reviews. Who is it? It is Nike. Why do you know that? Because Nike wanted you to know that. Okay? Backstory. And it's funny, he did this when he blew up was when he actually started doing this. Backstory, immigrant, worked in his family's wine business, became a self-made entrepreneur. Parables, stories of hustle, grit, and how kindness is underrated. Legend, ability to predict tech trends, his early investments in social platforms. Miracles, transforming a family wine business into an empire, helping people change their life perspective. Enemies, complacency, traditional education systems. Dogma, hustle, kindness, and self-awareness. Insiders language, terms like crushing it and hustle. Testimony from followers whose lives have been positively impacted. Who is it? Gary Vee. Why do you know that? Because Gary Vee wanted you to know that. Name the brand. Backstory, overcoming poverty and discrimination to become a media mogul. Parables, stories of personal growth, empathy, spiritual enlightenment. Legend, the character of it, like Oprah. There you go. Boom. Oprah. Enemies, injustice, inequality, ignorance. Why do you know that? Because Oprah wanted you to know that. Backstory, born in South Africa, moved to the U.S. to attend college. Early ventures like Zip and PayPal paved the way for his more ambitious products. Parables, compelling stories and visions of the future. Legend, first electric car, reusable rocket landings. Miracles, successful launch and return of astronauts. Surprising profitability against all odds. Enemy, traditional automakers. Critics and short sellers. Elon Musk. Why do you know that? Yep, you guessed it. Elon Musk wanted you to know that. All right, let's try this one. Backstory, born in Bethlehem to a virgin. Parables, who here has cast the first stone? Legend, resurrection after crucifixion. Miracles, healing the blind, feeding 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish. Enemies, Satan, Roman authorities. Dogma, love, forgiveness, and the concept of the kingdom of God. Insiders language, kingdom of God, kingdom of heaven, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Testimony, apostles and followers who spread his teaching, martyrs who gave their lives for their beliefs. Who is it? That's right, Jesus. Peace be upon him. The point is, like, and this is the best brand, one of the best brands of all time, the best brand of all time. Even God knows the formula, okay? Like, where do you think the formula came from? Exactly. And why do you know that? God wanted you to know that. Otherwise, you'd be a Scientologist. That was a low blow. That was a low blow. That was worse. Yeah, okay, that was a low blow. I'm so sorry. Okay, so name the brand. Backstory: met his future wife and asked her to help him process sales. Parables: lessons learned from Robert Cialdini books. Real life examples of growing his gym business. Legend: sold his company for $50 million, created 9 portfolio companies. Miracles: dramatic before and after scenarios, often showing the effectiveness of his strategies. Enemies: traditional business methods and common misconception. Dogma: do the boring work, only have one business. Insider's language: Mosey Nation. Testimony: literally everyone in the YouTube comment section. Alex Hormozi. Exactly. Okay. Why? Why do you know that? Because Alex Hormozi wanted you to know that. Also, there are these little golden nuggets. There's something else beyond this. There are these little golden nuggets that you can give your community. They're Easter eggs. Okay. Yeah, you guys ever watch comic book movies and you see you're familiar with the term Easter eggs? Yes, you are? Okay. Can anybody tell me what one of Hormozi's Easter eggs is? Anybody tell me? Exactly, Jonathan. Never skip dessert. He's a huge jack dude who always eats dessert. He's always talking about never skip dessert. And the calves thing, exactly. And that's another one. The calves thing. These are Easter eggs. Okay? These are Easter eggs. So that's even another thing. Like, one thing that I decided to start doing, I never used to, I always walk around all day with a gallon of water with BCAAs and enzymes in them because they help you retain muscle, blah, 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 bodybuilder thing, right? So I used to keep this off camera because I'm like, well, this looks stupid. But then I realized, I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, this is an Easter egg. So I started showing it constantly. Like, I got it here right now, right? And everybody always says, is that windshield wiper fluid? And I make a joke. I say, yeah, I drink windshield wiper fluid, you know, but no, it's BCAAs and electrolytes. So I'm trying to make this an Easter egg, and it's already started to catch on. I see it in the social comments, all that. Yes, you look at Daniel Chow. I have people asking what the blue bottle you're holding. Exactly. This is an Easter egg. Okay. You get it? It's like little things. Okay. Let's try again. Now, listen, here, we'll go to the next one. All right. Name the brand. Backstory: delivered pizza for 7 years, sold water bottles to pay electric, got a $250K IRS bill, back against the wall, became a millionaire online. Parables: real talk and calling out stupid business mistakes. Legend: $1 million days, pizza boy to millionaire, can sell anything, roasting, extreme bluntness. Miracles: 30 million with a small team, remarry ex-wife, 200 plus millionaire clients. Okay. Enemies: traditional schooling, popular opinion, fake gurus, man haters, wealth takers, mass media, free speech posers, American food, medical. All right. I probably could cut a few of those, but see, Hormozi's was simpler, and he's made more than me. So again, I'm not saying I'm the best in the world at this. I just know the formula, and it's made me enough. Okay. Insider language: curious student, RMS, phantom offer. Curious student, RMS, phantom offer. Okay. Testimony: hundreds of success stories and stupid rich students. Dan Henry, right? Exactly. Now look, you don't need more information. You need a therapist. I say little things like that. Okay. So look, I'm not saying my brand is the best example of this. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it. There are people who are way better at it than me, but I'm good enough at it to make millions of dollars. So, and I'm trying to get better at it. And I think we all should try to get better at it. But the point is, I still follow the structure. Okay. And what's funny is that the more I've been doing this, like, I just got invited on Bradley's Dropping Bombs. I got invited on the social power hour, something like that. It's Sean Mike Kelly. He's at 11 million followers. They get 150 million views a week. I got invited on the School of Hard Knocks podcast, and they did some clips with me. And go on the School of Hard Knocks Instagram and you'll see all these videos with like 100,000 views, 200,000 views, 300,000 views. And then you see me on there, 2 videos, both over 1 million views, 1.2 and like 1.4 million views. Okay. Because I know how to say stuff. I don't know how to say really messed up analogies to get views. Okay. So when I built my brand, what did I do first? I created the trio, the triad, right? The brand triad. Yeah, we'll call that the brand triad. That sounds good. So the money brand triad. So what do I stand for? I stand for becoming the best, unfiltered honesty, capitalism, masculinity. I'm not down with this beta male. We should like my kid is a boy. He's wearing blue. He's going to wear blue. He's not wearing pink. The end. Deal with it. Right. Like I believe in traditional masculinity, not like, you know, toxic where not those idiots, but you know, just friggin' masculinity, traditional family. Okay. I believe in knowing what's in between your legs. I'm sorry. Okay. Radical transparency, which I misspelled. And I'll be honest with you. I misspell a lot of things. Radical transparency. So again, this is what I stand for. Now notice none of this is like, has anything to do with Get Clients University or anything, but think about it, right? I believe in becoming the best, which means that I can talk about I can justify not liking get rich quick people because I don't want to teach people to get rich quick. I want to teach them to become the best at what they do. Unfiltered honesty. Look at the advice I give you guys. It's like super direct. You see what I'm saying? It's like super direct. And that's my style. So it goes in line with the eventual thing I sell you. Capitalism. I don't believe in handouts, at least forced handouts. I believe in capitalism. Okay. I believe in solving problems for profit. I just do. So that entrepreneurs, that makes sense. Masculinity. Okay. I believe in, and again, that goes back into the directness and the traditional family. Like, I don't want to help you sell a course on how to like sleep with a lot of women. I would rather work with somebody who wants to find their dream wife or, you know, save their family, right? I don't want to help anyone that promotes I'll get Myron's a great example. I was at a challenge recently, like maybe a couple months ago, and he opens the challenge, right? The first thing that he says at the very, because you guys remember, he teaches biblical success principles and he ties that to his offers. Okay. So he gets up there and he says, listen, if you promote anything that is that gender ideology, multiple gender, blah, 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 any of that, I leave the challenge, get out. I'll give you a refund because I'm not going to help you sell anything related to that. And so he clearly drew a line in the sand. And I share that. Like if you sell something that promotes that, please just get out of my community. I don't want to help you sell that because I don't believe in that, right? It's just not my values. It's fine if it's your values, but I don't want to help you make money with that. So I clearly define what I'm for. And then I define what I'm against, right? And so I'm against the school system, at least the American school system. I think it's BS. It's crap. Okay? It's crap. All right? Why don't schools teach personal finance? Because schools want you to be an employee. That's what schools are for. It's to create employees. That's just what they're for. Period. End of story. Mediocrity. I hate mediocrity. I hate ignorance. I hate sugarcoating. Just tell me as it is. Popular opinion. Popular opinion sucks because most people suck. So if you take the popular opinion, it's probably bad advice. Okay? You want to be the 1%, not the 99%. I don't like fake gurus and I don't like the status quo. 10 grand a month is garbage. You should shoot for more. Period. Okay? And what are some of my weaknesses? I have shiny object syndrome just like you guys. I really do. I get bored. I second guess myself a lot. I have anger issues. I let things anger me too quickly sometimes. Boredom. I do something that works. I get bored with it and I want to hop to the next thing. Sometimes I have really bad perfectionism. I've also had issues in my past with relationships. Now, Julie, I think it was Julie that asked, what if you fix them? Well, I did. I had horrible, this is me on the relationship thing, right? And then I fixed fixed it and I remarried my ex-wife, got my family back. Now, I share that not just because it means a lot to me, but you know how many men out there I get emails from that say, Dan, I remarried my ex-wife too, or Dan, I lost my family. I feel for you, and I blah, 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 blah. Like, you're connecting with people, okay? Why do you think so many of the heavy female-based brands talk about the struggles of being a woman? Because they connect with their audience, and they care about those things, and I care about that thing. I feel so bad for a man who let his ambition ruin his relationship, because I know what that's like. I know what that's like, okay? Anyway, all right. So 3 laws to a great character. Law of simplification. Don't explain, simplify. Never explain things, just simplify. Influential people use simple words to convey big ideas. All right? I'll give you an example. When I did the Write Like Dan challenge, I said something to the effect of, imagine there was a lemonade stand on the left and another lemonade stand on the right. And the lemonade stand on the left said freshly squeezed lemonade. And the lemonade stand on the right said yellow water with sugar. Which one would you buy? And everybody goes, oh, the one on the left. And I go, well, why? Because they knew the better words to say to their customer to get them to buy. That is called copy, right? Now, if you said that to me, I'd probably punch you in the face because I'd be like, why are you talking to me like an idiot, right? But that's the thing. Guys, when you are an expert at something, you think that if you dumb it down too much, people will think you're stupid. But the thing is, they don't know what you know. So like by you explaining it on your level, like here's your level, right? Here's you, here's your level. You're an expert, you know it. Here's the people you're teaching. Here's their level. They're not an expert. It's below your level. That's the reason they're learning from you, okay? So if you try to explain things up here, you're going to overwhelm them. But see, you have this thing about you that if you go down to here where they can understand, you think because to you, this would almost be patronizing, or this would almost be like talking to you like a child. You think it's wrong, right? But it's not wrong. It's just simple. You see what I'm saying? So stop thinking about how you would react and think about how your people would react, because they don't know what you know. You're the expert. You got to bring it down so they can understand. You get it? You got to make it simple. Law of fascination. Customers stay not because your product is good, but because they're fascinated by you. It helps if your product is good, but ultimately they're fascinated. You know how many people I know, like, look, did anybody ever buy anything from Andrew Tate? Like, did anybody ever buy anything from him? The chat has gone silent. No. Okay. Okay, Sam, did you buy his $47 thing? Was it good? Like, honestly, was it good? He's not. I was, but I know most of it already. So from my understanding, it's just like a bunch of like crypto courses and all this stuff thrown in, right? The point is that it's not like I remember when I was at Grant's office, he said, you don't have to be the best. You just have to be the most well-known. The point is that and look, I probably try to make my stuff too good. And so maybe that's a flaw, but I really like to make good stuff. But what I've realized is you have to put just as much effort into sharing things about your life that are fascinating so that people are fascinated by you. Focus less on being smart and more on being fascinating. Anyone can design their story to be fascinating. Hollywood proves this. Most true stories in Hollywood are really like boring in real life. They just chose the right elements and arranged them right so they're fascinating. Also, law of self-deprecation. Nobody trusts Mr. Perfect. Be relatable, not invincible. The heroes we love most are all flawed. Do these 3 laws kind of make sense to you for your character? Yeah, see, my friend bought it, said it sucked. Nothing against him. He focused on the thing that matters, being more well known. All right, exercises. List 5 personal flaws you've never talked about in public. Do it. Write it down. Do it. List 5 interesting facts about yourself you can ask a friend for help on this one. I don't know why I just read it like Captain Kirk, but the point is that if you don't find anything interesting about yourself, go ask a friend, hey, what's some interesting facts about myself? Trust me, they'll come up with something. List 5 things your audiences finds confusing but would like to understand better. Okay, these are some exercises you can do right now. I'm going to bring somebody on here in a minute and walk you through this so that you can, I can explain it all day, but I feel like if I bring one person on and I like kind of help them do this, you guys will get a lot more clarity. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So brand. So here's your brand, right? So you create your brand. You then tell stories that illustrate the principles, which are your dogma. You then do a transition to your offer, which means that if you take this away, 90% of your content can just be this. And then 10% of your content can be this, which takes them to your offer. Okay. Which is why you'll notice that like an Iman Gadzhi YouTube channel, 90% of his videos are just this. And then 10% of his videos are this. And he does 20 million a year. Okay. So example, right? I stand against traditional education, right? Okay. That's part of my brand. Hey, did you know the reason why there are bells in schools? It's because back in the Industrial Revolution, they needed more factory workers. So they started putting bells in school to train children to go to the class when the bell rang. Why? Because in a factory, when the bell rings, you go to the assembly line. They were training children to become compliant workers. School teaches you to make someone else rich, not to make yourself rich. And the principle here is, if you want to be the 1%, you can't do what the other 99% is doing. Now, does that make sense? I didn't do this. I just ended there. Do you get it? You get it? Okay, you follow me so far? Now, if I want to, I can say, and that's why I created a community of 1%ers, or those aspiring to be the 1%. It's called Get Clients University. And when you join, you'll join 675 others and growing entrepreneurs who are sick and tired of the status quo, part of my brand. They realize that the system is rigged, part of my brand. They realize that school, what they learned in school will not make them a millionaire. And so I wanted to create a school for millionaires, and that is Get Clients University. You get it? And you just create like a solid, I would say 10, minimum, 10 principles, 3 to 4 stories minimum per principle. So now you have like 30 to 40 stories that are all on brand, and a small percentage of those you transition to the offer. So on podcasts, and these could be stories about your life, like the story about when here's a quick story about my dad. So my dad, me and my dad worked at Pizza Hut, and okay, so me and my dad worked at Pizza Hut, and my dad always made more than everybody else. And so I asked him one day, like, how do you make more than everybody else? Everybody like hates you for this. And he drove slower than everybody else. Drove like a grandma. And he said, well, I have a magic notebook. I said, what do you mean you have a magic notebook? He says, well, I have this notebook. And what I do is when I go to a delivery, I look up the address, I go to the door, and I just have a chat. Hey, how's life going? And they tell me, oh, my dog's broke his leg, or my son's in the hospital. Give him the pizza. When I get back to my car, I write down what they said. The next time I go to the delivery, I look up their address. Oh, okay. Walk up to the door. Hey, how's your son? How did the surgery go? Oh, wow. You care about me? Wow. You remember that? Here's a larger tip. And over time, he got these people to tip 2, 3, 4 times what they tip. He had this guy, crazy Mike, who lived down the road. He would get a $100 tip from this dude. He had a monkey farm. Guy would give him $100. And the funny thing is, I created that magic notebook for me, and I started doing it, and my tips went up, and I made more money. Like, think about that, okay? Now, what is the principle here? The principle is when you can connect with someone, they are way more likely to do business with you and give you money, okay? The connection. Transition. How do you create that connection? You create an amazing brand that connects with your audience so that you don't even have to sell. The brand does the heavy lifting, and they just buy. And what's amazing is I just did a workshop in Get Clients University called the Money Brand Masterclass, where I teach you how to do all this stuff. And if you're a member, you get to watch that masterclass. So go join now. You get it? You get it? Over and over and over. All right, let's bring somebody on. What do we got? Do we got any more here? Okay, here are the steps you all can do. And then I want to bring somebody on. Okay, so step one, decide on your brand. I would highly recommend you decide on your well, you know what? Just go through get to level 2, get the 30-minute personal brand, finish that, and create your money. Oh, sorry, let me start over. Decide on your brand. This is the superhero. My bad. Go through the superheroes, and this is in that guide as well, and decide on your brand. Then create your money brand guide and use the AI guide that's available. Get to level 2, do it. Step 3, make your list of principles, okay? Which, again, is a part of this. Step 4, create 3 stories that illustrate each principle, or at least begin building on it. Stories from your life, stories of stuff you've heard about, parables, whatever. Step 5, create principal offer transitions. You don't always have to use it, but you can. And you can use it for different offers. Oh, my magic notebook? Well, like, let's say I was a real estate agent, right? And I taught a course on how to sell luxury real estate. Hey, here's the thing. That magic notebook made everything easier. And what I realized about real estate is that if you sell higher priced homes, what you're doing is you're taking the people who went out and built an amazing income. And now their homes that they sell are way more expensive, which means your commission checks are way more expensive. So I let them do the heavy lifting. I let them make it easier by having a high-priced home. And all I do is I sell their home for them. So I get 10x the commission. I would like to be your magic notebook and show you how to do this, blah, 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 blah. That wasn't the greatest transition. But the point is, you can use different transitions, right? I could use that transition and say, hey, my customer research thing, or hey, whatever. I actually gave some better examples of this when I did the Write Like Dan challenge. I just forgot what they were. Okay, who is it that we're going to bring on? Carlo, somebody got the highest engagement that we chose?
Yeah, well, we did. We're going to bring on Laura Wild. I'm going to turn her mic on. I think you're going to like her offer. Let's just say that.
Now, just to be clear, why did Laura get chosen?
So Laura was on our 30-day leaderboard, and then I pulled somebody out of that group that had an existing offer and hadn't gone through this process. And she's been engaging in the community, which is how you get on the leaderboard, just like a bunch of other great people that are there right now.
All right, awesome. And Laura, are you on?
Hey, Dan, I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to do this in 10 minutes because it only takes 10 minutes. And I only have 10 minutes. Okay. But we're going to get it done in 10 minutes. All right. So here's the deal. All right. Do you have a list of those superheroes?
I do.
Okay. Do you already choose your superhero?
Yes. I chose Wonder Woman with just a couple tiny tweaks.
Okay. So let me find Wonder Woman here. We're way back at Jesus. Keep on him. Where's Wonder Woman? Okay. Here's Wonder Woman. All right. So it stands for feminism, justice, and equality. All right. So out of this, what do we need to tweak here?
On the one that is in the course, it was peace, love, and empowerment. And I think I added personal growth. So personal growth and empowerment were the two that stood out to me.
Okay, so that's so your 4. Let's do your triad. Your 4 is, what is it?
Peace, love, personal growth, and empowerment.
All right, let's do it here. Pete, are you from California?
Yes.
I'm just kidding. Are you really?
I am.
I get it right every time. Holy moly. Holy, that's an Easter. See, that's
I'm
an
a
Easter
total
egg,
hippie.
right? So I make fun of Californians. That's an Easter egg. Okay. Sorry, I don't really care. It's just funny, but that's hilarious. Okay.
I love it.
Peace, love, and what?
Personal growth and empowerment.
Okay. I'll just say growth, so I don't have to write that much. Growth and empowerment. Okay. All right. What else? What's the second?
The second one
against,
stands against.
Yes.
And it says in there, war, hatred, and then I added oppression and inequality.
Oh, I bet you love my brand. Okay. I don't know why I put water.
Water.
I almost put hippies as well as one of my enemies, but it's more of a funny thing. So I just didn't think it was worth it. Okay. So
war, hatred, oppression, and inequality.
Okay. All right. And what is the flaws?
Her flaws, there was something different for the first one. I put can be a control freak because I changed that one slightly for myself.
Can't we all? Yeah. Okay.
And then it talks about her struggle between her duty to the Amazons and to the world, and then naivety is what's on there.
What, do you have a duty to the Amazon, or
well, no, I mean, that was just what hers said on there.
Yeah, but what is yours?
Oh, so mine are, the control freak, which I guess micromanaging would go over with that too, and
right.
Overcomplicating. So being exhausting, overwhelming people with mental.
Well, you better fix that quick, but okay.
Yeah.
What else? I need something juicier. This is not enough.
Okay, and you're going off Wonder Woman now. We're just talking about me.
That just gives you a basic sort of like guideline. I need like my worst one is probably like anger, right? Like when I was a kid, I would get into it with the umpires in Little League. Like because I'm an 8 on the Enneagram, and 8s get very testy. Like if you disagree with me, I'm chill. But if you disagree with me and I think you're treating me unfairly, or there's an injustice against me or somebody I care about, I like get really bad. Like I'll be a total asshole. So like I have anger around anything that I view as injustice, which is why like I've struggled with posting about like certain political events, because I can't, like, I feel there's injustices. And so I talk too much about it, when I shouldn't. So like, that's like anger is like, that's like a real vulnerable thing to share. So I need something a little bit juicier.
Right. How about superiority? Is that not juicy enough?
Well, you want to stay with it. You want to stay.
So I got to
Hitler
stay
is
within
not
Wonder
on
Woman?
this list. Okay. So we have to like stay within the balance, because if you choose things that are on brands that people hate, like it's bad, right? Like find me a brand. Well, you know what though? Iron Man. Well, okay. I wouldn't say superiority because it sounds a little gross in 2023, and you should know that you're from California. So I would say something more like ego. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because it's a proven brand, right? Because think about it. I don't know who is your audience?
Parents.
Like just parents?
Yeah.
Or like entrepreneurial parents?
Nope. Well, busy professionals. So parents.
Okay, so they probably have an ego,
afford
right?
my product.
Would your audience also struggle with like egotism?
No, some of the struggles I wrote down were more about my audience struggling with kids.
What are some flaws you and your audience share?
So a tendency to micromanage our kids. That was one of the struggles I put down.
Okay, so this is good. This is good. Now that I understand the audience, this is good. Okay.
Okay. The other one was a challenge dealing with behavioral issues that your kids have. Like being at your wits'
Lack of patience.
end. Yeah, that's a great one.
That's perfect. Dude, there we go. That's money. Lack of patience. Yes. And I mean, if you think about it, oh, look at this. Overly protective. What parent isn't overly protective of their kids? Are you overly protective?
Oh, only in the sense of the micromanaging point. I'm not really a protective type.
That's how it manifests.
Yes.
Okay. So you could put you could just articulate it the way, because that is kind of a thing. So there you go. All right. Overly protective. All right. So now let's think about this, right? So let's look at your character. So you're the character over there. What do you sell?
I sell an online course for parents that want an alternative to traditional schooling. They want to supplement. So what are you asking? Okay. What's my product? What's my vehicle?
Well, like why, where are you right now that would make that a thing? Why are you who you are, and how did you get here?
Okay, so we're on the origin story.
Well, I just need the basics of it. I don't need the whole story.
So I'm a teacher dissatisfied with the current school system. Who is seeing that it is not serving kids and setting them up for a successful future.
Okay, perfect. But instead of what you just did was you just kind of like summarized. You need a story. So you notice how like Alex Hormozi could have said, I struggled to grow my business, and so me and my wife did it together. But he didn't say that. He said, I was in a car, I had a stack of orders, and I asked her to help process them. You see? Like you can see yourself in the car. You can see the stack of paper. So you need a specific...
I got a story.
Okay.
Yeah. So first year teaching, tons of degrees in the ghetto with a class of students called literally the class from hell. And they ate me alive every single day. I'm sitting in my car crying after school every single day, trying to figure out a better way, because they did not want to learn anything traditional in any way that normal teachers would deal with a group of kids.
Okay. So, but give me like the car crying thing, right? Like that, like you got to talk about a certain day, like one story that illustrates kind of like of it all. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So pick a story. Maybe some kid said something to you or whatever.
Yeah. So I walk in there the first day, 30 fifth and sixth graders. One kid is throwing chairs around, the big heavy chairs across the room. Two others are fist fighting in the corner. I have a 10-year-old with tattoos up and down his body. It's pandemonium, and they're all screaming. There's no books in the room. There's no supplies. And literally they walk me in the door and they close the door behind me and say, good luck. That was my first day of teaching.
This is in California, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, sounds like it. Wow. It's not even that bad here in Florida. Okay. So then what happened? How did you resolve that?
Yeah. My resolving that was to not rely on anything anyone was telling me to do, and for me to find out what these kids were passionate or interested or even curious about. Say that again.
So you figured out a different way to teach them based on, or different than what the government told you to teach them.
Yes.
What was the result of that?
The result was that they learned every day in a fantasy environment where they dressed and pretended to be people of history living in another time. And they basically learned by playing all day and in a way that was super meaningful to them. And it worked. They had complete order, and in the classroom, they held each other accountable.
Okay. Your insider language, I would come up with something like role play education, fantasy education. I like that, actually, fantasy education. You got to start coming up with terminology around that. Fantasy learning. Ooh, I like that. Fantasy learning. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Make a list. Okay. So that's your backstory. I love that. Okay. Now your parables are going to be like, again, parables can be stories about you, stories about somebody else, fables, or like made up like theoretical things, right? So for instance, and you rotate. So for instance, a parable could be something like, and again, that the parables are meant to illustrate your dogma. Okay. So let's say one of your principles is when a child is entertained, their brain is at their highest capacity to learn, right? Something like that. Okay, let's just you get it? Like you make a list of those. Is that not true?
Yeah, we call that flow. Yeah.
Flow, okay. So when a child is entertained, they're at their highest ability to learn. Okay? Or receive information, whatever you want to call it. So that's one of your dogmas, right? So now you need a parable. You need a parable that talks about how that's true. 3 or 4 of them. A story from you, a story from, or something like a theoretical thing. And like, does this make sense?
It does. It does.
You
And
sound like
do you
you're a
want
little
them
bit
always to be positively worded, or can it also be something around what you're against?
It all goes into it. Sorry, I'm just giving myself another few minutes. Okay, so for instance, a parable for this would be, see, what I would do is I would do research, right? I would go to ChatGPT and I would say, I believe that a child has its highest has their highest capacity to learn when they're entertained. Give me 10 analogies, stories from pop culture, or historical references that illustrate this principle is true. And then as it gives it to you, you just keep saying another. And eventually you'll find something. Oh, and you'll be like, I'll give you an example. The yellow water with sugar thing, the lemonade thing, that was just one of like 30 ideas from ChatGPT that was gold. And I took it. I just said, I want to illustrate that copy is the most important thing in your business. Give me 10 examples or theoretical analogies to illustrate that. And 9 of them were trash, and 1 of them was the yellow water with sugar thing. And then I expanded on that. And later in the channel, I said, when I couldn't get customers, I realized I had a great product, but I was the yellow water with sugar guy. How many of you are the yellow water with sugar guys? Oh, you are? Yeah. You want to be the freshly squeezed guy, right? Like, and people see, you get what I'm saying? So you need like a personal story, a story of someone else. You need a theoretical story, like my genie example, right? All to illustrate the point, the principle that children learn best when they're entertained. Okay. Now you have like maybe 9 more principles that if a parent believes that, they're going to give you money. They have to give you money, right? And of those 10 principles, you now have 3 or 4 stories to illustrate their truth. If you had 30 to 40 stories to tell at all times that were on brand, no matter what podcast you were on, no matter what stage you were on, no matter what webinar you were doing, no matter whatever, wouldn't you have plenty to talk about that was on brand?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And look, don't just talk about your product, right? Or that. Like, this should be about children in general. Okay. So your enemies, right? Who are your enemies? Traditional education, for one, right?
Right. Those who believe in a cookie cutter curriculum type of experience.
Okay. Modern, standardized curriculum. Okay. Cookie cut. Who else? School boards?
Yeah, it is. We're talking a paradigm shift. So it's anyone that believes in that old paradigm. Of course, school boards are part of that.
You also need some associated
people that want
enemies.
quick fixes are my enemies, or quick fixes just in general are an enemy.
Okay. What about, you want some associated enemies too, right? Like for instance, mine, I like traditional family, right? Why do I like traditional family? Well, I mean, I like it anyway, but I'm not like, I'll give you an example, right? Years ago, when I owned a restaurant, I held Pride Nights once a month because there was a gay community in my area and they had nowhere to go. And I was like, all right, well, I'll hold a Pride Night. By the way, I don't know if you know this or not, gay people spend money. This is my best night. And that was like 15 years ago, right? Well, and I was totally cool with that movement. The way the movement is now is against my values, because it's become something entirely different, right? So, like, even me, somebody who previously supported that whole kind of thing, and who now like doesn't really support it in its current iteration, I also know that most of the people that follow me are capitalists. Capitalists are generally leaning-ish right, or if they are left, they're reasonable and they're kind of like in the middle, right? I don't have anybody that's extreme left that buys from me. So knowing that, if I talk about things that conservatives and capitalists don't like, there's a bond there, right? Like, I don't have to talk about the fact that I don't like, like the gender ideology movement, but 95% of my audience hates it. So why wouldn't I talk about it? Does it have anything to do with making money? No, but it's an associated enemy. Does that make sense?
Right. They can relate to you.
Right. And it's not direct, but it's associated. So when you say, okay, traditional education is an enemy, that's cool. But what's a couple of associated enemies, like enemies that they would also have, even though it doesn't directly relate to that? Does that make sense?
It does. And is it better to have enemies be actual figureheads, or can they be things as well? Doesn't matter.
It can be concepts, figures, entities, movements, cultural things. Good to have a mix. Good to have a mix. Yeah, it's good to have a mix. Like you probably don't like Andrew Tate, but I'm just using him as an example. His audience is going to be probably 18 to 40-year-old males that want to make money, right? Well, knowing that right now, anyway, there's a lot of like what I call toxic feminism, meaning not actual feminism, but like man-hating type of stuff. He knew that, right? He knew it was like an issue, and that a lot of his audience like cared about it. What does that have to do with making money? Not much, right? But by constantly talking about that, he got them riled up about it, right? Because think of all the men who like pay child support and then their wives are stuffing it up their nose or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that's everybody, but there are a lot of cases like that where men get screwed. In fact, 10 years ago, you could be like a model dad and your wife could have been a stripper with a coke habit and she would have got the kids. Now it's a little different, but it used to be like that. And so there's this animosity that he recognized in his audience, and he just like poked the bear. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, and I know that maybe that's not a great example because I'm sure there's a lot of people here that don't like him, but that's not the point. It doesn't matter. Like him, don't like him, doesn't matter. The point is that he did the same thing everybody else does. He just found that common enemy and he poked the bear to create bond. Oh, and now you want to buy my Hustlers University? Great. Like they just buy it. They don't even know what's in it. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one that came to me is like the 9-to-5 culture,
that's good. 9-to-5 culture.
Kids to end up in that limiting environment.
Yeah. Okay. So make your list of enemies, but I'd start with traditional education, 9-to-5 culture, toxic parenting. You'd have to define it. Now the legend is going to come from you doing all this correctly. The miracles are going to come from things you've already done that have probably I had this child who was like gunning people down with an AK-47 and now he won the spelling bee. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. Or do you have clients?
I do.
Yeah. So your results from your clients, right? Miracles, anything that you've done. Or it also could be like maybe you have a best-selling book on it, or maybe you will have a best-selling book on it,
I have
et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the miracles. All right. Dogma, insider. And then again, this is the other thing that happens as a natural result of doing everything properly.
Right.
Okay. But for you, what I would say is,
do you ever tell stories about your flaws, and how does that fit into this?
Yeah, so I do. So, and I've increased it. So like I talk a lot about, I'll give you one example and then I gotta bounce because I've got a call. But before I give you that example, did all this make sense for your brand?
It did. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have, I don't want to leave you confused. So are you way more clear now on your brand?
I need to go through the process. I did the 30-minute personal brand with the AI, so that got me pretty clear, but this is a whole different level of clear. So I need to go through the process.
What I would recommend you do is take what you learned here and then do the AI thing again.
Okay.
Do the 30-minute personal brand again with this, because really the triad is what's really going to kind of dictate your direction of where you go, right? Like this is going to dictate kind of like where you go.
Yeah,
and
which is
where
in
you
the
go
30-minute
might
brand.
dictate everything else that happens. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But do you have clarity on things like parables, dogma, enemies? You have clarity on that?
I do. Yeah. My only question was, do we use our flaws in those parables, or that's used somewhere else as far as stories?
In and out and everywhere. Okay.
Okay.
So I always, once you've achieved a decent level of success, you want to pepper it in a lot because it gets intimidating. I actually had a higher conversion rate when I was a little bit more broke because people believed it more. And so now that I'm sharing more flaws, my conversion rate's gone back up. I'll give you an example. I'll give this example and then I'll pop off. I talk a lot about how, and again, this is also because I realized that 97% of my audience on YouTube is male. So I talk a lot about how I got divorced. It really messed me up, right? And I literally was the kid that if I was on a Delta, I remember I was on a Delta flight when I was 10 years old, and I volunteered to hand out peanuts to everybody on the plane because I just wanted to be helpful. And I was always that guy. I was the guy who was conservative. I was like real, like family, all that. When I got divorced, I never thought I would get divorced. So it really messed me up bad. And for the first time in my life, I was single, I was rich, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And so I turned to 180, and next thing you know, I'm on a yacht with, like, I'll just be honest, a bunch of girls that don't work during the day. I was just balling out, having what most men would consider a great time. And I was partying, and no, not that close. Just, just whatever. Okay. The point is, there was a lot of very scantily clad women. I didn't pay for them, if that was your question. Look, you got a yacht, you don't need to pay. Okay. But the point was, is I did all that. And it wasn't just that, it was alcohol. It was just all that. And my weakness has been, that sort of like women and partying and just dopamine, right? And it made me realize a couple of years later that it wasn't fulfilling, it wasn't great, and that I really wasn't going to be happy unless I was in my purpose, if I was fulfilling my purpose. And then I usually relate it to the fact that I used to sell coaching. I was great at it. It felt like my purpose. Then I got bored and I did other stuff and they didn't make as much money and they were way more work. And now I'm back to coaching, right? Because this is my purpose. This is what I'm good at. I'm staying in my gifts. And I kind of relate that and just talk about how boredom is the most toxic thing to us at every level. Because when you get bored, that's like the devil's handiwork. And so the reason I switched offers was not because I wasn't making money, because I was bored. I didn't even want to improve them. The reason why I didn't want to find another wife and do the family thing was because I had guilt. And so I thought, well, I don't want another wife. I want my wife. And if I can't have my wife, well, then I'm going to have a good time. And, I talk about these things, and it kind of like, maybe if you're a woman, it's not much that relatable, but to a men, like how many of you can relate to this? Like, how many of you can relate to these demons? Okay. Yeah. See what I'm saying? I don't know about women, but okay. So that's something I talk about. And that is like a really personal friggin' thing. I mean, really, really personal. So
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. That way, also, if I ever get Me Too'd, which I shouldn't because I never did anything like that, I can at least say, hey, I talked about it beforehand. Okay. But nobody needed convincing to come on the yacht. I'll just say that. So you share those things. There's all kinds of other stuff that I share as well. But again, if my audience wasn't 97% male, I might not choose that particular thing. Because trust me, there's other bad stuff I've done. Okay. Or mistakes I've made. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Cool.
I
Awesome.
think it was really valuable for you to share that you don't share all of you. You really pick and choose exactly what you're sharing that's on brand. That was a really powerful thing to understand.
Yes. Yes. And it's not that I'm too embarrassed to that or this. Trust me, this is one of the worst. It's just on brand. Like
Absolutely.
I could admit to you all kinds of stuff, but if it's not on brand or it's too much or it's too complicated, there's no need to include it. It'll just confuse you. So I share what's needed. I mean, trust me, most of us we've lived more than 10 years. Like a lot can happen in 10 years. But yes, one of my worst things is guilt. And it even happens with like employees, right? Like sometimes I'll get really angry at an employee and I'll say something I shouldn't have. I used to be way worse about this and I'll have guilt over it, right? And then I realized two things. One, sometimes you just need better employees because you're beating them up and what's best for them is to let them go. And then when I hired my COO, Joe, I realized that it's not that my employees or my staff or people I've worked with don't want to do a good job. It's that they don't have the tools to do a good job. And he started working with my people with this thing he calls the time matrix or something.
Time value matrix.
Yeah. And it's this whole thing about how to like get stuff done and organize your time. And it just dramatically helped. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to market. Okay. So I get him. He knows how to do that. And he fixes the problem like that. And it's like, I'm over here getting angry for 5 years when if I would have just hired a damn COO, I'd have realized it. What's the principle? The principle is that you need to stay in your gifts and you need to find your weaknesses and hire people whose weaknesses are, or whose gifts are your weaknesses. Boom. There's a principle. By the way, Joe's going to host a friggin' workshop on the time value matrix. And if you're not a member of GCU, motherfucker, then join. Okay. There you go. All right. I just made that shit up. So there it is. Okay. All right. I got to go. Thank you guys so much. I really hope you enjoyed this masterclass. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. I got this vibe board, so I'm ready to make all kinds of cool stuff for you guys.
But don't go anywhere, guys, because Joe's coming on next.
Yeah, Joe's okay. Good.
We got more.
Joe's coming on. All right.
Go.
I'll see y'all later. I got to
Thank you, Dan.
All right. Yes. Thank you. I really hope it helped.
You.
Post in the
Thank
group. I
you,
want to
Dan.
see what you've done with it.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right. See you later.